Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for letting me spend some time with you today. I do appreciate it. If you're listening to the audio only, thank you for doing that. And one small favor, just check us out on Facebook or Rumble. Give us a like, share, all those good things. It just makes it easier for people to find us just like you found us. And apparently a lot of you did. When I looked at the statistics the other day, I had some questions and I went and I started looking and I was amazed. I was absolutely amazed. I know this goes out around the world, and I was humbled, to be quite honest. Almost 750 downloads in the nation of Japan. I was astounded. I was astounded. I couldn't believe it. Could not believe it. Never in a million years did I ever think that someone in Japan would be the least bit interested in anything I had to say. Thank you so very much from the bottom of my heart. It is humbling. It truly is. I'm going to look at something today. I wish I didn't have to, but it's not that bad. It's not that bad. My last rant, I didn't want to do it all, but I did it. This one comes from a couple of people who have asked, why do we think, Satan has, horns and pointy ears and carries a pitchfork? And there's a reason for it. There's a reason for it. But before we dig too far, let's go back and see who it might have really been. Okay? If we look at Genesis 3:1, it says, the serpent was more crafty than any beast of the field. Don't need to read the rest of that. I think you get the idea. Now, the original word used here for serpent is the word nakash. Okay? Nakash actually comes from another word, nakash, spelled the same, slight different pronunciation. Nakash, gosh, slight different pronunciation, very slight. And you kind of got to read it in context when you're reading it. All right. And I know that really doesn't make a whole lot of you familiar with the Hebrew language, but it's the way the Hebrew language works. Now, what that word actually means is divination, divine, enchantments, practicing divination. It's bad, okay? Very, very, very bad. When the Almighty sent the fiery serpents among the people, it's Numbers 21:6. So the Lord sent fiery serpents among the people, and many of the Israelites were bitten and died. It's when Moses put the serpent on the pole from Numbers 21. Now, the word fiery here, the word fiery is seraph. You may have heard me say this before. And you might recognize the word seraph from the song The Cherubim and the Seraphim. Those were divine beings, and they're the only two divine beings actually named in the Bible. There may be more, not sure. We know what Ezekiel saw, but those were not named, okay? Now, to make this really, well, interesting is not even a good description. Fascinating might be. A good friend has visited Saudi Arabia many times over the last few years. Many, many times. And what they found was amazing. There's a very, very large rock, probably 30 feet long. And it is covered with pictures chiseled into the rock, images chiseled into the rock that describe the lessons of Numbers 21, the fiery serpents. And here's where it gets so cool. I looked at the pictures and they saw it and they're so excited over seeing this. They just started taking pictures and none of them were top quality. All right. Now I have been promised, Pam, I have been promised that I'm going to get some really detailed images of this thing. Because when I looked at the pictures and I'm looking at them on my phone, I'm blowing them up. I look at them on my computer, I'm blowing up and they get a little fuzzy. But it looks as if the snakes have wings. That indicates they knew they were divine beings. Okay? Now, we see this in Genesis, we see this in Numbers, and we see it all throughout Scripture. There's only a couple of places, that we might think of Satan as having the pointy ears. But most of the places we see that particular divine being, the one that originally sinned, would have been a seraph, in my not so humble opinion. Where we get the idea of pointy ears and horns, maybe even the goatee, actually comes from Isaiah, where they actually use the word Sair. Now, Sair means a devil, a goat, could mean a hairy, could mean a kid goat, could mean rough. Has lots of different meanings depending on the context and the way you read it. So if the image in your mind makes Satan look like a goat, there is a biblical origin for it. But the weird thing is, it's the same word used to describe Esau in Genesis 27. Same word used to describe devil in Leviticus 17:7. You must no longer offer sacrifices to devils, to which they have prostituted themselves. It'll be a permanent statute for you. So which one's correct? Which one's correct? Well, kind of both. Kind of both. As I said, the original divine being that rebelled in heaven is the serpent-looking type seraph, right? Other devils may, in fact, look like hairy goats, kind of, maybe. And you'll see why I'm being a little ambiguous here. Now, for those of us who have fought directly with evil and defeated it, your idea of what it looks like might be different. Okay? Either way, I am quite certain it's not going to be carrying a pitchfork. Probably doesn't have a long tail with a little arrow point at the tip of the tail. Might not have a goatee, but I might be wrong with that. Could be. See, a lot of times the images we have in our minds, they are simply extensions of an artist's conception. You know, we've seen those images in books or in movies, different places. Now, because of that, we're looking at somebody else has described this. They have basically influenced us. And that's why we think of it in the terms that we do. Somebody has implanted that idea or that concept in our minds. But here's what you want to be careful of. If you're watching out for that little red guy with horns and a pitchfork, are you watching out for somebody else's devil, or are you watching out for your own? Because you never quite know what it's supposed to look like. I had somebody tell me one time, well, for me, Satan's my ex-wife. Okay, I can relate, kinda. For somebody else, might be an ex-husband. For somebody else, might be a bottle of liquor. Who knows what your particular evil is that taunts you? Don't watch out for somebody else's. Watch out for your own. It's that important. One of the things that God told Cain was, you got to be careful because sin is crouching at your door. It's waiting for you. It's hiding. It's ready to jump out and attack you. And when that happens, you don't be watching for somebody else's problem. Be watching for your own. Something to think about until next time. Until then, I do wish you many, many blessings, everyone.